Welcome back to the channel, you guys. This is your girl, Wicked Raider, coming to you with another look at a champion that I pulled not too long ago. And I've actually had a chance to work with this champion before on my original account. And as some of you have probably guessed, every now and then I run across a champion that I don't hear very much about, but that I can very much appreciate. So, dive into the index. We're going to head over to the Shadowkin faction. A lot of interesting characters are definitely here. And I want to take a second to talk about this particular champion, Gory. Gory is an epic level champion that I don't hear very much talk about. And sometimes I wonder why. Now, aesthetically, I'm just going to say my boy is coming with the colors, with the design, nice flow of the hair, nice put together with armor as well. A lot of champions in this particular faction, aesthetically speaking, look absolutely amazing. Even with his reviews, only 369 reviews. So this is one of my more recent champions that was added in as this faction has continued to grow. Numbers are not bad, pretty standard across the board. And we know that numbers often depend on when you pull a champion and what exactly that champion is able to do. So when it comes to Gory, he is an attack-based champion. HP sits around that 14.5 mark, looking at speed right at 90. So not the slowest champion that you're going to find, not the quickest champion, but I'll be honest, as a early/mid-game type of player at this point, this champion, depending on how early you pull him, can be a good addition to the team. So let's look at the kits and see what we have. So first attack, we're coming in Cold Comfort. Attacks one enemy 2 times. Places an extra hit if the target is under a freeze debuff. For all of my newer players, the one thing I had to learn when I was going in to build teams for particular areas of the game, I had to learn to really pay attention to those champions that had an additional requirement. It's nice to have that attack one enemy 2 times. Even nicer if it was attack all enemies, but we get it. Places an extra hit if the target is under a freeze debuff. So stop and ask yourself, who on your team, who within your current catalog of champions, who within your vault has the ability to throw out that freeze debuff? Or is this one of those moments where I would gear this champion to provide them with this opportunity? And then as they come around an additional turn, perhaps that debuff is still present and will allow for the extra hit. Either way it go, if that's possible, it will heal this champion by 10% of the damage that's inflicted. The damage, of course, can be increased by an additional 20% if this champion is fully booked. Second skill, Frost Jutsu. And notice the combination. This freeze debuff for this particular champion is going to pop up quite a bit, which is probably the indication it's coming off of this sword. Looks amazing. At first, I thought it was almost like not quite smoke, maybe a little ash reincarnate going, but I'm going to take that as an ice moment, of course. So for Frost Jutsu, Frost is in the name. The skill can be brought down to a 3-turn cooldown, attacks 3 times at random. Each hit has a 75% chance of placing a freeze debuff for 1 turn. Notice I just asked myself if there was another champion available that could be teamed up with Gory to place a freeze debuff, forgetting that he also does this for himself. The amount of damage inflicted can be increased by an additional 10% with books, and your buff/debuff chance can also be increased by an additional 25% chance. So that would bring this up to a 100% chance of attacking 3 times at random, placing a freeze debuff for that 1 turn. It creates the synergy that's needed for the amount of damage inflicted and the additional heal that's involved from that standard first attack or first skill to continuously come around. Now, third skill, Frostbreaker. Frostbreaker can be placed on a 3-turn cooldown. Attacks one enemy, will ignore increased defense and shield buffs. This sentence here, the further you are, especially toward mid game, where you're starting to make really good progression. You are at a point where you have a couple of 6-star champions. You're at a point where you're starting to realize that some champions are just as good 5-star and may not be necessarily the 6-star requirements. These types of skills will become more and more important. Gory will ignore increased defense and shield buffs, will also ignore 50% of the target's defense if they are under a freeze debuff. The synergy between the second skill to the first and third skill is very nice. Places a counterattack buff and a 50% increased attack buff on this champion for 2 turns if this attack kills an enemy. So we're looking here. You can book up to increase damage by an additional 20%. And of course, bring this down to that 3-turn cooldown. The amount of work that Gory can put in within a particular battle is what makes this champion a bit unique. The passive Dignity counterattacks with the Cold Comfort skill. So going back, counterattacks with this first skill. Keep that in mind. Whenever an enemy places stun, sleep, freeze, provoke, fear, true fear, petrification debuff on an ally. If you are going, for example, through areas of Doom Tower, if you are going through especially the lower levels of Doom Tower, and you're trying to figure out which champions to put on your team. A lot of us have Ultimate Death Knight. A lot of us are thinking, oh, let me add Rhonda to the team. A lot of us are still running either Kale or Galette. You are trying to really figure out how to branch out and build teams. Guys, team building is kind of like learning your artifacts and which ones to place on a champion and which ones to not place on a champion. It will take time. And it's also going to be based really heavily on your preferences of gameplay. Never forget the biggest thing about Raid, and it's something that I'm learning and relearning over and over again. A lot of this is personalized to the champions you gravitate toward. It's also tied to what exactly do I want to get out of my champion. So this passive is nice because it makes his kit pretty nice. Let me show you an example because you guys know, or you will learn, I am a Finchy lover as well. There are a couple of champions within this faction that I can say have really allowed me to not only progress, but go the extra mile. Finchy is one. Taraji the Frog, as I get off task, is another one. If you have not pulled my boys, certainly worth it. And let's not even talk about what has happened. Hotatsu is another one that I pulled. Not always a champion that is heavily talked about, but guys, these ratings are very reflective of his ability as well. I can probably talk about a couple of champions within the Shadowkin faction that I have personally truly enjoyed. Another one, Burengiri. Burengiri. That's what we're going to go with. Please don't talk about me for the pronunciation. This is a champion. Actually, I've had a chance to build. I know that there are a lot of people that love him. I will tell you this. If you are building this champion, just at face value, he is a defense-based champion. I know a lot of people who have built him thinking that he was going to throw out extremely heavy attacks. I will 120% tell you that's not necessarily his biggest focus. He can get you numbers. By far, he can certainly pull numbers for you. He is for me, I have built him as a support / defense champion, but hitting with humongous numbers that are needed to carry a team, that is not where I found him to be the strongest at. But definitely a champion that is worth looking at and taking note of. Ginbo is another one. Ginbo the Dishonored, that several of us acquired through the last login special that they had going with your Amazon Prime memberships. Amazing champion, a very versatile champion as well, especially early in mid game. You're going to see him quite a bit. But let me go in and just kind of show you, just kind of randomly, when it comes to Gory as a champion, where I've used them, where I've kind of seen him at. We're going to take this on Brutal. Let's say, for example, I'm going in with a team and I want to keep it a little simple. I'll put him with Relic Keeper and just Gory. And we're going to go through and just kind of see, in a comparison, exactly what could be done. You're going to notice that, number one, a lot of people will build him with quite a bit of speed. I want this champion moving. I definitely want his skills to be used. I love to see this guy in a fight. The way he moves to attack is just amazing. Stance, graphics, loving it all. The amount of damage that he is able to do is really nice. If he is on a team with Relic Keeper and Ronda, for example, it creates a really nice balance. I have ran him on a team where he's right behind either a champion. I just 6-starred. I'm trying to build them up and max their level out. He provides a nice amount of support, and the remainder of the team is all food. So that's the other thing that you're going to notice as well. When it comes to the amount of damage, guys, toe for toe. Number one, look at the level difference between these two. He's still 5-star for me. Still a 5-star. 75, 75, even amount of damage. Not giving out as much as far as defense, maybe even support. But let me show you him in another scenario. Let's come up from the catacombs and let's come over to Felwyn's Gate. This one is going to be a little bit more of a challenge for these two. Same two. When I first pulled Gory, and I want to say for this particular account, it was easily maybe level 40 right before. Did a sharp pull during CVC, pull this particular champion, and I hold on to most of my Shadowkin champions for a couple of reasons. Number one, guys, you're going to have those areas in Faction Crypt, and you're going to need champions. This is true when it comes to orcs. It's true for skinwalkers, like all of those factions that you may not just automatically love, gravitate, and pull the highest of champions. You've got to be careful because you want to be able to spread yourself. Number two, you're going to notice in battle that he's not in jeopardy of dying. Like, take a look. Not putting out the biggest numbers in comparison with Relic Keeper, but we are running Brutal Stage 7. And my guy is still going strong. More than full, very capable of keeping up. That's something else that you're going to notice for this particular champion. I see him quite a bit, depending on where I am when we're looking at areas within arena, for example. He does really well. Now, where things will get a little bit tougher, come to Tilshire. This is where these champions are level 76. This is where I would expect him, being that he's only 5-star currently on this account, to have some struggle, some issue. This is a spirit-based champion as well, usually a little bit on the squishier side, but Gory for me has been a champion that has really and truly allowed for some solid progression. Guys, the earlier you pull him, the better. Now, you're going to notice when I said we made it to Tilshire, we're going to have a little bit of danger going here because we are going against level 60 enemies. All right. Relic Keeper is one of those. I have seen Relic Keeper built, guys, in so many ways. So many ways. Some people... Oh, my guy just went down. Some people will list him as one of the worst champions. I've seen him make some lists. Some people will put him as a champion for solid progression. I'll be honest, the number of attacks and counterattacks that he does, the extra turns that he takes, I love some Relic Keeper. You see here that I've 6-starred him, still building on that champion. As Gory continues up, this is what happens. The amount of damage he's going to put out will slowly decline. It all depends on who you are putting him next to. Now, if I, for example, run him in, let's say I'm trying to go back and I want to re-gear him because he is a champion for me that would be definitely eligible to be re-geared. I have not changed his champion's gear since the very, very beginning. And the one thing you notice on this channel I don't go through very often is how I have personally equipped a champion. Because I promise you, it can be so much better than what it is. His crit rate, guys, I got to go back because just looking at it, the numbers are extremely low. Crit damage is still at 70%. And you're looking at 51% crit rate. I know that he can move, and his value for me is going to come in speed and level of attack. So currently, I have him sitting in a relentless set because that's what I had available to me, and also a speed set. What I want to do is go back and I would rework this champion with two things in mind. I want the strength of his attack and also the speed of those attacks to reign through the most. This champion is definitely 5-star automatic as he hits my account. Depending on who else I would pull, a 6-star thoughts is not far away. If you run him, for example, and we can just give this a try. It's always nice to run a random battle just to kind of see how he does. And Shadowkin is open. Let's run. He's my only one. He's my only little person. So he's been carrying me up to this point, guys. In stage 7, I am just so not ready for. But we will run him through just to kind of give it a go and see how he does on his own. Likely will not be able to finish this level. I want to say the first couple of times he's made it through wave 1 and 2 without much issue. What I do want to go back in is give him a little bit more resilience so that when he is healing himself, he is able to take the damage from the counterattacks. So even leaving this first battle, that continuous heal that he's getting, that amount of energy reflow that he's getting, it's not going to be quite enough for him to make it through this second wave and still be productive and ready for the battle at the end. And so that's where the struggle has been coming from. I'm tempted to 6-star him for that reason, because on this account, he is my only Shadowkin faction champion so far. I have been extremely selective on this particular free-to-play account, and that's why. But looking at the amount of damage that he's able to do, if he had maybe 1 or 2 other champions with him, they could definitely get through stage 7 and move forward. But that will make him eligible, in my mind, for a re-gear, a rework, and that should definitely make him more efficient. I would love to hear how you guys are currently using this champion on your account. Since you have pulled him, did you vault this particular champion? Have you been running him in campaign? What area of the game have you been most impressed with his skills? And who do you think he works best with? Would love to hear that one. If you have stuck around with me this long, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Taking a look at the analytics, guys, 87% of those who are visiting me more than once. So you watch, honestly, more than 4 videos so far have still not subscribed. So hit the subscribe button for me. We finally hit our milestone of 100 subscribers. I was so excited. Working on that new gear as always to make things a little bit better, and maybe slide myself down here as a visual in the corner like so many other creators. So let's make it to 200. Bring along a couple of friends. If you are also looking for a clan, this past Clan v Clan was amazing. My clan showed up and showed out. We still have 5 slots available, so 22 WK. Feel free to come and join the fun. It was nice. It felt awesome to be successful, especially when CBC was offering those personal rewards. But we are here as always. And if nothing else, keep in mind, happy gaming. And I'll talk to you guys soon.